Perfect. All right. So good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. I'm not sure of everyone's location. Um, Welcome, everyone. We are thrilled to have you join us for the very first episode of Behind the Build. And this is a new storytelling series by Grace, where we go beyond the buzzwords and explore what meaningful technology gets built and who builds it. And we all know what's the current favorite buzzword is. If not, we'll just get to it in a second or two. By the way, just to give name to the face, I'm Aura, a customer success manager at DevRev, and I'm super excited to moderate today's conversation. At Grace, we are passionate about creating honest, reflective spaces for women who are leading at the forefront of technology. And this is a series that we are just beginning to to open the room for people so that we can learn from each other, celebrate the journey, and ask the questions that are in mind. And to the buzzword, it's AI, obviously. So, and the theme today is Agentic AI, the customer experience game changer we have been waiting for. Without further ado, I would love to introduce you the two great hosts, the moderators and leaders that we have with us today. They are bringing us deep experience and unique perspectives to the table. Firstly, we have Shuchi Mahajan, who's joining us from the back. Hi, Suchi. Thank you for joining us and making time. Just to give a brief intro of Suchi, Suchi has been in the banking and financial sector with over 20 years of experience. I am highlighting 20 and I'll talk about it more later and unpack with her with this. She has a career marked by driving impactful projects. She possesses some unique ability to translate complex visions into tangible realities. And she is working in one of the India's largest private banking sectors. And her expertise is really going to help us, I think, drill down in the topic that we are going to talk about today. And I have the pleasure to introduce Mollie Holland as well, who's bringing, again, immense experience of working for 20 plus years of experience, and it spans across industries and roles. She has positioned herself at the intersection of technology and customer experience. She is renowned for her strategic acumen and hands-on approach to transforming customer journeys. With that, I will just give a brief intro of how the session is going to be divided for everyone here. The first section is going to be talking about the actual topic, right? Behind the build. What is it that goes into creating something from scratch? And after that, we'll keep some time for questions over career and how leaders here, Shuchi and Mollie, have navigated those across these years. Would you want to add anything, Shuchi, Mollie, before we begin?
No, thanks. Thanks, Saurabh, for the lovely introductions. And I'm excited for this conversation. Please.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'll just add, I'm excited to speak with Shuchi again. We were at an event in February together, and she spoke on a panel with our CTO, and then also was on a panel for Grace in a kind of closed room session that I moderated, and I learned so much from her and her experience. So I'm excited to learn again today too. So it's going to be great.
Perfect. I'll be a strict time checker, quote unquote. So because we have so much goodness in this topic, I would love to get to it as much as possible. But if not, maybe a part 2 of this, who knows? But I think I would love to begin with your journey, like both of your journeys, right? And maybe if you could talk a bit more of a defining moment in your career where you really had to build something from the ground up. And if you could talk about some project maybe or some experience in your career where you took some critical decisions about customer experience and overall what technology should be there to help you navigate those. And what were those challenges? What choices did you face and how did you navigate that whole process? Maybe we could start with you, Shuchi, and then pass it to Mollie.
Sure. So yeah, as you said, I've been with HDFC Bank for a good 20 years. And in the span of 20 years, I have done multiple projects, got involved in multiple roles, from sales to customer behavior to marketing to product development to fraud and risk management. And the one big project that I really handled, and I'm very glad that I did, was to build the entire net banking and mobile app from the scratch, right? And it's not that we did not have a net banking and mobile app. Of course, we had a net banking and mobile app, was very, very functional, doing the job perfectly fine, no problems as such. But you have to change with the times. So obviously, you have to kind of make something which is more with the next generation of people. The entire UI UX had to be more, redefined. How do you make, the challenge was, how do you make a transactional platform into an experiential platform? Right. So that was the entire challenge that we had, that yes, we have something which is very transactional, functional, nothing's wrong with it. How do I make experience for a banking platform? Right. And that was not something that people really thought of banking to be, that, you can have a good looking app, you can have an experience, you can be engaged. So that was the challenge which was kind of thrown to us. And it meant that we had to redefine journeys, customer experience, intuitive. How do I ensure that the young generation enjoys looking at the UI UX? What are the features that they will want to have? And at the same time, how do I ensure that it's intuitive enough for our senior citizens to just maneuver the app, find whatever that they need to, without really struggling with it, right? So it was two ends of a spectrum, where the younger generation is absolutely tech savvy and they can find whatever their way, and the senior citizens who may not be as tech savvy, which nowadays is changing, but at the same time make it very, very intuitive and simple. Also, the challenge between having a fine balance between customer experience and engagement, because see, internet banking and mobile app are not standalone products, they are platforms. So which means that they cut across every product of the bank. So if you want, it's like a digital branch or a digital bank. So all the products have to be there in a manner that can be easily accessed. And you have to also strike a balance that the products are given to the customers as and when they need it, also not impacting the experience. And last but not the least, it's security. People keep money in the banks because they want their money safe, they want it secure, right? So it becomes very important that their money is safe. So how do you have a very thin line of balance that you're treading between, with ensuring that customer convenience is there and without compromising on the security bit? So these were challenges that were thrown up at us. We walked the entire 9 yards, where we did a lot of customer surveys, understood what people wanted, what are the security solutions that are available in the market, what are the engagement tools available in the market, can I do a balance of multiple things together, define the information architecture, go back, do wireframes, A/B testing, again go back and try and fix it. There were obviously a lot of problems, because you will not get something right the first time. So there will be failure points where you fall, you get up, you start all over again. So that entire experience was completely enriching, because you had a view of everything inside the bank. And then came collaboration, because you can't build something like this in isolation. Every product of the bank comes into the picture, because they are the experts. So what I build on the app or the net banking cannot not serve the purpose. So it's very important that you're interacting with each one of them. They are convinced that what you're bringing on is going to add value to what their entire product is, and not bring it down. Is it getting the due importance? Is it getting the due relevance? Are we ensuring that the engagement is at the right level? So when an Aura logs into net banking, and we know that she likes to invest in fixed deposits, is there something that I can nudge her in the right manner for her money to grow? If there is somebody who's more into mutual funds, how do I kind of nudge that person to do better for themselves and make their money grow? And then you have the entire front end stuff, your branch banking, your phone banking, all those teams who actually, your relationship managers, they are the ones who touch base with the customer. And they are the ones who are going to talk about the platform to the customers. So if they are not happy, if they are not convinced that it solves the pain points that customers would have had, then again, it's a non-starter. So the entire collaboration, the entire technology teams, cutting across compliance, regulations, because obviously you're a bank, so you're very tightly surrounded by regulations, and of course the experience. I think that in itself was a completely game-changing and enriching experience that I had.
Great. And I think so much I heard, like, key point was, starting from Gen Z to senior citizen, like you've touched the whole gamut of people and ensuring that one app does cater to all of these personas that are there. And to be honest, I got the update of the new app and I absolutely love it. It's really making life easy. It's really intuitive, to be very honest. So great work done for sure. Mollie, I'll pass it to you to talk about any project you had or what was the challenges that you faced, because your career spans across so many different industries. I would love to hear which one was a
Yeah,
pivotal one, maybe. Yeah.
it's been diverse, that's for sure. But I'll just say too, like the other thing I love about what Shuchi said is the thinking about growth, right? Growth for the customer in that they're getting what they want and they need. And that's also tied to growth to the business. And, I think when you can seek out and find a transformational project in a company, in your company, and demonstrate that type of value, it can be hugely impactful to your company and your career. So I'll talk a little bit about some of mine, and honestly, it's so interesting too to hear about Shuchi's experience, because they made that transformation, right? They stayed relevant with technology. And some of the reasons I've left my previous companies was because they weren't able to figure out how to adapt and be visionary enough and execute related to those transformations that were needed in the industry. So, I'll maybe start with, I think the first time I built anything, of my own was I worked in retail at Target Corporation early on in my career, not as my first job, but very, very pretty early. And, I built an assortment. And so when you work in merchandising and retail, it's the first time when you become a buyer that you really create something yourself. Now, my career has largely been in more physical, tangible goods. So in retail, where I was at Target, like building an assortment that I thought, our customers would love and would delight them. Because that was what Target was all about, is expect more, pay less. You thought all about the guest. You had tons of customer data, which I'm sure Shruti in the bank does too, which helps you actually make so many great decisions about whatever transformation or vision that you have, because you can do it in a data informed way rather than just subjectivity, which makes it a lot harder, honestly, to be successful. But Target was really struggling to see around the corner, and Amazon was completely disrupting their business, and they didn't see it. And we worked really siloed as well, where we had great data across the retail brick and mortar stores. We actually didn't have any insight into what was going on with our customers on the .com side. So that's when e-commerce and digital commerce was really, really up and coming. So I left Target to get some different experience, and I wanted to also work in a global business. So Target was operating only in the US and Canada at the time. And so I moved to 3M, where I then spent 11 years of my career. And I would say one of the most pivotal building moments I had at 3M, and there were many because of the nature of the roles that I was doing there. I worked in strategy, business development. I owned a global business, a number of different categories. But one of the most interesting ones that I did was I was moved on an assignment, relocated to China. I lived in Shanghai for 2 years. And the reason I got the opportunity to go do that was I was working in our business that had a really strong presence in one market, like one geography. And they wanted to figure out how we built and replicated that in the Chinese market because it was such a large and growing market. Actually, India was also a market that was already really successful in this category. So China was this like big untapped opportunity. And I got the opportunity to go do that because I'd been really vocal with my like mentors and my leadership team about some of the skills that I wanted to develop. One being that I wanted to build a business, you know, kind of ground up. I'd run like pretty established businesses before that. And two, I wanted to really be immersed cross-culturally in a totally different environment. And so it was a really interesting time. I won't go into a lot of the detail, but having to figure out the dynamics of how you translate something that worked one place to another place, because everyone always feels they're really, really different. Markets are very, very different. However, there's way more similarities than people usually give credit to. And so you have to figure out where are those similarities, but where do I have to be really conscientious of cultural differences and go-to-market differences. So that was fascinating for me. And then the last step that I'll take and talk about, you know, building and really CX technology is when I moved from 3M to DevRev. And I always joke that I moved from a 100-year-old, you know, huge manufacturing company to a 1-year-old tech company. So I've been at DevRev for a while now. And, you know, the reason I decided to join DevRev was my last role at 3M was leading our global marketing organization for our medical business. And when I spoke with our CEO and founder, Dheeraj Pandey, and we were talking about how little information I had to do my job well, leading a global marketing team and understanding truly what the customers needed, what they were asking for, what their support inquiries were, what the salespeople were hearing, and being able to then execute on that was a huge gap. And I think it is still a huge gap for most CX organizations. You know, CX, marketing, sales, you know, really any go-to-market function is just this ability to have the right information to make the right decisions. And so that was why I made this change to DevRev to really try to build something that was going to transform how companies are able to use technology and use data about their customers to make better growth decisions and better decisions for the customer as well, right? To drive those transformations.
Great, many punching moments and points you shared, Molly. I think one of the key things that stayed with me is I think staying relevant with technology. I think and this is like not across just this technology, right? Like we have seen so many things come, some stayed, some growed, and some have like vanished completely. How do you make yourself relevant? And it's not just about also products. I think as human beings as well, how do we ensure we are being relevant with the technologies that are there? So great stuff. With that, I would love to move or pivot to the heart of our today's conversation, agentic AI, right? As we see that AI is maturing like in literally in seconds, nanoseconds, and we're moving from automation and prediction to something far more dynamic and decision driven. I would love to hear from you both, like what does this shift mean for customer experience, and are we ready for it, or what will it take to be ready? Anyone can. I wouldn't. Yeah, anyone can go and then popcorn it to other person.
Well, I'm going to ask Shuchi a question because I loved what you said, Aura, about staying relevant. And I think that's something that everyone struggles with right now. Like you said, I loved it. Moving in nanoseconds. It is. And so I would love to hear from Shuchi, like, how do you stay up to date and relevant? I can, you know, I know for me, I'll just say like, it's all about surrounding myself with people that are also experts in the thing that I'm, you know, feel like is disrupting. And then, you know, being curious, asking questions, like not feeling like, oh, I don't know anything, I shouldn't say anything like that. For me, that's something that works. I would love to hear from you, like what are some of your tips and tricks about how you stay relevant in these fast-paced markets and technology changes and advancements?
So one thing which you hit the nail on the head, Molly, was asking questions and staying curious. That's the one thing that I always tell people, that never let your curiosity die. Because the moment you stop asking questions, just thinking and feeling that, oh, I may be the only person asking this question and everybody knows, you're not just fooling yourself, you're fooling the world, because there are 100 other people who are not asking the question for the same fear. And because you've asked that question, you've actually given knowledge to 100 other people. So always, always ask questions. And the other thing which I try to do is that anything new that comes out, unless you experimented yourself, in some shape or the other, you will not really taste the true flavor of the thing. And it could be a service, it could be a product. Right now it's AI, right? And while a lot of people keep talking about it, unless you've experimented various things and you can use it, like, there is no dearth of options for how you can use it to kind of stay relevant and know what's happening and how can you use it. That makes a huge difference, because then it is, you lead with example. You are able to talk about this entire technology because you know about it, rather than talking 30,000 feet above the sea level and telling people this is what is expected from you without really knowing how to go about it. So that is another thing that I really do. And the third thing is research, reading up, and meeting a lot of partners. Because while I may get information from competition, from research in a particular manner or reading, but there are a lot of players in the market who are doing so much work for so many people across different industries. By meeting them, by trying to understand what is it that they are doing for them, and replicating a similar scenario and building your own use case, that totally opens up your mind to understand the potential, understand the probabilities that exist for you to kind of learn and grow. So yeah, to answer your question, these are a few things that I kind of look at.
I love that. I'm a kind of a visual learner, and so like the hands-on thing you mentioned is like I totally agree with. And if you haven't, tried Perplexity and tried Open AI, ChatGPT, if you haven't tried Claude, and I'm just naming like the most common, kind of
Yes.
B2C tools, like you're not going to get it. And then go try all the other ones too. Try Lovable, try Gamma, there's so many things out there that help you realize their own possibilities. The other thing I'll do is I'll just give a plug for you said researching and like reading, and podcast has been a way that I've been able to I feel like stay a little bit more relevant on things. Is and one of my favorite ones I'll just share with everyone here is A16Z. And I love that one because they talk about the way AI is being applied in so many different industries. And so it gives you it, I think it opens up your mind to be able to think outside of just your own industry and outside of your own role as well. So if I'm helping anyone with anything there, that's one I like. And then for like current news on what's happening in like Silicon Valley and in tech globally, Hard Fork is another one that I really like, if that helps anybody too, just in terms of like research. I think those are great.
Oh,
Great.
I'm sure that
And
will really help people.
Yeah.
to be honest, Shruti, as you said, ask questions, right? Like one of my previous leaders had said, there's no stupid questions, only stupid answers. So never shy away from asking anything. With that, I'll pivot back to the topic of the hour, agentic AI, and would love to hear from you both, like, right? What do you see this shift that is currently happening be specific for customer experience? Because we are at the forefront of it, right? And ensuring that if we are looking at AI agent or agentic AI to give that experience in behalf of a human being. What do you think this shift looks like? And are we actually ready for it or not?
I
I
think
mean,
the
I
only,
think
okay, Molly,
go
please go
ahead. No,
first.
please,
No,
please.
no, no, go first, go first.
I was just gonna say we have to be ready. We have to be ready. Yeah. So please go ahead.
Okay, for me, agentic AI for CX, I think is nothing short of transformational, right? Because and it's a fundamental shift from the way we've been treating customer experience so far. And it's been more reactive. From there, how do you move to a more proactive kind of approach? From simple automations to how do you use technology to instantly understand the context and resolve the problems and proactively ensure that those problems don't get repeated. So I think it's a completely different and fundamental shift in the way we function in customer experience. And when I say proactive and reactive, there are two aspects that I'm looking at. Now, reactive is when a customer is reaching out to you, right? That I have a query or I have a doubt, I have a complaint, it could be anything. Now, in a normal scenario, you would answer the customer's question either to her satisfaction or not to her satisfaction. And that is where it closes. It might just get escalated into a complaint or something else. But that is where it closes. How will this shift change? This shift will change because with agentic AI, the context is already at a certain level. It is not starting from ground zero because there is enough scenarios, enough data that you've already fed for the agent to have a context. Now, when the agent has a context, the probability that it makes mistakes reduces because the memory is completely, it's a colleague which is never going to sleep. It's a colleague which is not going to rest. And it's a colleague which is always going to be alert, right? So, it starts from a context which is already there. It understands what the issues are. And in most cases, the queries are very simple. And it can also understand that Molly generally has this issue, say a late payment on a card. Sorry, Molly. So it'll understand that, okay, can I give a reminder to Molly at the right time so that she doesn't miss a payment? And the queries will stop coming from Molly because she'll stop missing her late payments and she would have paid on time and she's a happy customer suddenly. So the reactive queries can be converted into proactive. But there are also proactive ways that you can reach out to customers. We all shop at Amazon, Myntra, and as women, we know that every brand we have a different size, unfortunately, and sometimes the same size also doesn't fit, right? So you can use you can use AI to be able to tell Aura that Aura, you usually wear a small, but in this brand, irrespective of the size, the fit is not going to work for you. Try these brands. So it not only helps the brand or the company to have lesser to deal with in terms of returns and replacements, but also a very happy customer because you get exactly what fits you well. Those kind of things. So I think all of that can come in together and it'll completely transform the way we look at customer experience. While yes, we have to be ready, as Molly said, but I don't think we are there yet. We are all trying, experimenting. There are some successes that people have had, but being completely ready requires a lot of work. We have to ensure that all the data that is required to be fed in for the models or the AI to learn everything and get the context to not make mistakes, not have biases. Now, that is a challenge which most organizations feel irrespective of the industry because data will be at a department level, it'll be in silos. How do you kind of get that data together? How do you put it together in a structured or in a manner that it can be read? Build a platform and then start putting use cases. That's one challenge. You need to have your guardrails in place because like any technology, it can either be a boon or a bane depending on how you use it, right? So if you don't have your checks and balances in place, if you don't have your guardrails, if you don't have the human in the loop, which is required, then also there are chances and people are trying to get there. There are a lot of partners and people who say we are already there, but I think there is a lot of scope for improvement in that place. Now, the other challenge which organizations face is whether should we build it ourselves or should we buy it? So the build versus buy dilemma is also there where we are not yet ready because it's a dilemma for the simple reason that if you build, a lot of money, a lot of resources, skills, time is required. But when you buy, it's faster. But the people you buy from, if they don't have the right functional experience and the knowledge, then the use cases may not deliver what you want it to deliver. So again, it kind of falls into the loop. And then what is also very important is the trust. Are we getting trust from our employees? Are we getting trust from our customers that using this is actually going to be beneficial? Because there are still fears, there are still inhibitions, there are still worries around this entire place. So while we should get ready sooner than what we want, than what we think, but we're still a little far away. But I'm but I'm sure things are falling into place with a lot of people. So shouldn't be long, Molly, before we're all ready to jump into it. But right now, I think we're experimenting.
Nice.
I love the analogies that you have brought in, right? Like from how we have started this journey to where we are, and ensuring how do we make this agent understand while it's as you said, like it's not sleeping and there 24/7, is it being able to actually do the things that it's supposed to do without mistake? And obviously time will be the best judge of this. Molly, I would love to hear your take on this because you have joined DevRev, which is being touted as one of the main pro AI agentic AI, where we can actually solve a lot of problems that Shuchi was saying. I would love to hear your take on this.
Yeah, I love the teammate comment because we think about it as team intelligence, and it's related to what I was saying earlier. And Shuchi, you mentioned it too, is like, does the AI agent have the context it needs to be effective? And you cannot get that if your information is spread across so many systems. And that's really that's really what DevRev is all about, is bringing that together in a really seamless and easy way, because it can be very hard. I've heard so many horror stories from customers of ours that have worked with companies that spent so much time and energy cleaning data, scrubbing information, preparing it to be in the right structure. And so you have to know who you're working with. Can they work with structured and unstructured data? How are their models prioritizing what it surfaces? How do you handle hallucinations and things like that? But really, it's all to get to this end result of team intelligence, where you have this teammate that's doing something. And that's really what agentic is all about. And that's something I like to always talk about too with people, is just what are the definitions of these things, right? Because you go all the way from just simple automations, which is essentially what the early days of like bots were. Bots are not what we're doing today. Bots and agentic AI is not the same thing. Bots were always very rigid. They were rule-based. If this, then that. If you were off the happy path, it ended, in a pretty poor customer experience. Agentic AI is not that. Agentic AI is about using technology and all that context in your knowledge graph, is like that assembly of all these pieces of information, so that the AI can, without a human in the loop, even take action, right? Close the loop on something. So it's not like, oh, okay, you wanted to do that, I can surface this information for you, but I can't actually do the thing that you need it to be done. Instead, I have to connect you to a human. The whole purpose from a customer-facing agentic AI perspective, as well as internal, is that you can accomplish something through a conversational interface without ever having a human in the loop. And yes, as as companies like get up and going, is like they want to validate that, exactly like Shuchi was saying, is you want to make sure that things are happening the way they should, and it has access to the right information and the right tools or skills, is what we call them. Is like, does your AI agent have the right skill to be able to close that loop? Because that's the only way you truly get the productivity gains and the efficiency that AI companies are promising. And so, I think the other thing too is just, people, don't be afraid of this. It can feel scary, and I'm talking about productivity, but it's not because you're going to lose your jobs. It's because you're going to actually be able to do the things that matter, spend time on the things that you don't get to spend time on, that, are going to drive growth for your business. So, I think that's the way in which we all need to think about and embrace this, is how can I even help come up with some of the ideas for how we start small and get, bigger and more bold, and understand what could be possible, because it's going to help me be able to then work on the things that are going to make a bigger impact to the business, rather than those things that, are just things that we do over and over again every day, you know, and one of the things that I love, it's so simple, but is like prepping for a customer meeting, right? How much time does it take most of us to like go from tool to tool to tool to tool to understand all those bits and pieces about that account, that person, what's the latest going on with them, both publicly as well as like within our engagement with them. You know, that used to take hours and hours of prep. You know, oh, I have to prep my executive, or oh, I need to prep myself, or I need to prep the product team so they know exactly how, you know, what's been asked for and what's been asked about and the use case and all these things. It takes minutes now, not even, with the right prompt. And, you know, I encourage people to go learn how to write prompts. We have a prompt engineering class, like a course actually, that just teaches you like, how do you write a prompt that's going to get you the right result the first time, instead of like trial and error over and over again, because that also saves you time and you know, productivity. So I think just like embracing those things to think about how you can work smarter and not harder is just the mindset we all need to be in right now.
Of course. And I think what you touched upon, Mollie, I think I'll tie it back to what you started with when you were in 3M, right? Where you talked about having that mentality of building something from ground up. And I think even to individuals right now who are in this journey of learning about AI, agentic AI, or any other AI, it has to be thought in a way that you are building yourself from ground up. And you actually took one of my questions that, you know, do not think of it as a way that it's out to eat your job. How is it going to help you? And I think it also ties back to the part where Shuchi was mentioning being relevant, right? If you're not keeping yourself relevant about all of these things, then that's a difficult and a different scenario. But if you are, there's nothing to be worried about. Coming back, I think I would love to take you all to maybe the future state of things, and would love to hear, like, you know, maybe if 5 years, because how things are progressing, 5 years for AI seems like a lot. So how do we see this whole AI, be it agentic or any other net new ways that will come up, be, and what will it take organizations to be successful with it, whether they are building it or buying it? What is the future basically that we are seeing for this whole new set of thing that has come up?
Well, I
Mollie,
don't,
if you would like to take up.
sure.
Yeah.
I don't even know what is going to be possible in 5 months, let alone 5 years. And you know, like that's something that's been really interesting to me too, that just like reflecting back on my earlier years in my career, my previous company, is we used to try to plan for like, you know, a multi-year time horizon for our businesses. And it's just like, that's just a joke anymore. You just can't. But I think like the other thing I would add to some of the, you know, synopsis you just shared, Aura, and even how to think about how you move forward and don't get left behind in the next 5 years, is figure out how to take some risks, right? And it has to be calculated. Because Shuchi's totally right. You have to make sure that you're not putting your customer at risk. You have to make sure you're not putting your company at risk. You need to do it in a secure way. But how do you, you know, experiment? And Shuchi also spoke about like A/B testing, and I love that. I love that, like data orientation and constant experimentation. And I think that's what we all have to do and think about, is like, what's that next experiment you're going to run? How are you going to take a little bit, you know, bigger chance on trying something even more novel or interesting than you did the last time? And that's the only way that people are going to be able, and I, like you said, Aura, whether you're building or buying, it doesn't matter. Either way, you have to figure out how you continue to advance by doing, or you'll be left behind. So I think that's probably my biggest thing about looking to the future, and advice I would give people is just, how are you pushing yourself to make sure that you're constantly iterating.
Great. Shuchi, any thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely, Molly. You're bang on right, stating that we don't even know what's going to happen in 5 months, let alone 5 years. And it's very important to keep trying and testing. But there are a few things that I think incrementally also kind of impact, right? So till about a few months ago, not everyone could afford AI. Okay, it was really, really expensive, right? Now with DeepSeek coming in and globally prices have slashed. So affording AI solutions is not going to be a problem. So anybody and everybody will be able to afford it. So the point of succeeding is not about being able to afford it. It's about how you're able to use it, right? And and that is very, very important, because it's not about, yes, I have 5 problems and I will solve all 5 problems with AI. It doesn't work like that. And for that, it becomes very important that you have a lot of generalists. You now don't need coders everywhere. You need more people who are problem solvers, who can understand what is the problem statement, who can get their hands dirty, figure out what are the intricacies, so that they can give the right requirement to AI for it to solve. If you don't have that set of people, and which also will not come by default, you'll have to probably upskill your people. So unless that happens, those are the guys who will land up succeeding. That is one. The second thing that is going to be very, very important is building a culture of trust top down. Now, what do I mean by building a culture of trust? Now, if we are saying that AI is going to be the nervous system, say, of the organization, your cognitive accountability will end up being the brain or the conscience. Now, for that to function in absolute perfection, it all boils down to trust. And when I say trust, I'm not saying trust which is one-sided. I'm talking about a trust which is going to affect the entire organization, starting from your employees. And like Mollie said, right, AI is not here to take your jobs. That is something which we are saying. But when it comes from your own management, that is when it comes trickling down to people that, okay, it is not here to take our jobs. Because right now it's what you're seeing and what you're reading, right? So many jobs cut down in so-and-so company. And of course you read here, you see sci-fi movies where AI is taking over the world, and you are like fighting with agentic bots
Robots.
and robots
Yeah.
and all of that. So yeah, that's great to see in movies, but that's not really reality. And that trust has to trickle down, saying that your jobs are safe. But also, how do you incrementally bring that trust? By getting your people to be upskilled. You get them to be upskilled, get them to become generalists, let them try and experiment. Let them experiment, let them do some use cases, let them fail, let them stand up again. That gives them a comfort that, yes, the organization is for us. Now, that's one aspect of it. Then comes your various departments, right? Now, AI, agentic AI and AI is technology that understands our language, and we don't need to understand its language, right? So that's a fundamental shift here. But if your model is, say, rejecting a loan for a customer, or if your model is just declining a transaction for a customer, the front end teams have to answer that customer. Are you giving them a very simple layman related dashboard saying what went wrong and what can they do to fix it? Now that will give them the comfort that, okay, I can get to my customer, the loan is rejected, I do these 2 things right, and I get the loan approved. So that comfort comes where exact root cause analysis of why it was rejected. So the transparency comes into the picture. And when there is transparency, there is trust. So when you get all the departments to have that trust in you, you get more acceptability, because that becomes very important. For your use cases to work, you have to have acceptability that they want to use your use cases, right? The next level is your regulators, wherever regulators are involved, and your board members or shareholders. Now, at the end of the day, they need to be confident that you are not using unethical means of achieving goals. You are well within the purview of ethics. You are well within the purview of the guardrails that are prescribed for you. And you're doing everything in the best interest of the customer. The sensitive information of customer is not getting leaked out, it's encrypted, all of that confidence, because at the end of the day, you have to have the buy-in of the regulators and your shareholders and board members. And last but not the least, it's your customer. That's the entire game for, right? At the end of the day, you're giving the product and service to the customer. So getting that trust, when all of these things fall into place, when the customer has the confidence that his or her data is safe and they are getting whatever they need, when they need, and how they need it, that's it. You don't even need to go spend billions on marketing budgets because your word of mouth might just do the job for you. But this entire building trust becomes very, very important. And the last piece that will come here is today we have a problem of plenty. What do I mean by that? Every second fintech partner has AI. Everybody has a use case to solve for, right? Everyone. But when it comes to asking them to put their skin in the game, that's not the answer. So you have hundreds of partners having AI, but in the future, if there is a partner who is really confident about the product that they have, and they can say that, okay, this is your use case, I'm telling you, I'm going to get 20% reduction on this problem statement for you. And that is how it's going to work. Now that people don't mind paying extra for something which is going to get them the results, right? So I think that while we can't see 5 months down the line, I think these are a few things which become very important for us to identify and figure out what will succeed in the next couple years and what will not.
I think like you both have touched such key points, and I loved how you brought out transparency to trust, right? I'm sure if once this recording is uploaded, marketing folks, if they listen to it, they'll not like
They'll not
if
be
you're
very happy
telling them
about it.
the budget cuts, but definitely I think it's a key aspect, right? When you are being, and I think this drills down again, I would love to bring it back to like individuals as well, right? When you are being very open and vocal about what is it that can or cannot be done, or what is it that you can or cannot do, and ask for those help, it really changes the narrative of how things are perceived. And that is something I think will let me actually now pivot to the next part of this segment. Like we have talked a lot about tech and AI, but I would love to talk about leadership, right? Because you both have in various ways have your career pivoted. Shuchi, you within HDFC, and Mollie through different organizations as well. And I would love if people are here, they could use the chat Q&A section and add in their questions. But to just get started, I would love to hear from you, Shuchi, what made you stay in HDFC for a long time? Because when I started my research and I saw that you've been in one organization for 20 plus years, I was like, wow, my highest has been 5 years, 10 months, and I give a pat of this good thing to me. So would love to hear what made you stay.
Okay, so I never thought I'm going to stick to one organization for 20 years. That was never really a planned agenda. When I joined HDFC Bank 20 years ago as a management trainee, and I started my career in Chennai, and I was in the credit cards team and in the portfolio team where I would understanding what kind of campaigns to do to improve the card spends and those kind of things we used to handle. And then I had to move to Mumbai for some reason, and then obviously I had to take a role change. So when I was looking at options, and then the option came as sales, okay, try your hand at sales. And at that time, one of our leaders who I really, really admire, I really sat with him and asked him that I'm not sure if I'm good at it and I've never done it before. He's like, that is the entire perspective of life. To be able to do multiple things, learn multiple perspectives, try different things so that you know what you're good at or what you like more. But it's very important. And unless you don't try, how will you know? And I jumped into sales, and from there on, and that has somehow stayed with me. And I think, and this organization has actually given a free hand to everybody. It's very important that the organization also lets you try different things, and it opens up your mind to a lot of perspectives. You are not thinking, yes, you are in the same industry, no doubt. But in an organization our size, you shift a role, it's like you shifted a company because the set of people change, the way they function change, what you're doing changes, your perspectives change, and suddenly, and then you realize that whatever you've learned in your previous roles, there is so much more that you can add on. Plus, you are learning from your teammates, your seniors, and there is just no end to learning. So I think, and for me, So I'm from an army background. My dad's a retired army officer. All right. So I've changed 11 schools, been into multiple places. So I have this itch of not doing the same thing for too long. And I think that has done me really well because it changes your perspective. You are doing so many new things. It opens up your mind to the entire gamut of the industry and not just the one thing that you're doing. So, and I also keep telling people that yes, change jobs. There is no problem in changing jobs, but work on cross-functional skills. And as I just said, that right now we also need generalists with AI coming into the picture. The more people have done different things, the more they understand the different problems that can happen and they help solve for it. So it's very important, it's my personal opinion, that you try doing different things. If your organization gives you a chance, you must try and do different things. It will totally change your perspective about your industry and about life. I'm not kidding you.
Like, thank you for sharing. I think that's key, right? Like when your organization lets you, and it's also about bringing that cost down, right? Like, why would you let this person go and bring someone net new, invest so much versus just training this existing person? I would, Molly, go to you because you said that, in the beginning, you changed organizations because you at one point felt they were not moving ahead with whatever changes were coming, be it in technology and otherwise. But you stayed in 3M for a good 10 years of your career, right? I would love to hear from you. How did you go about, pivoting in 3M? And yeah, what's your thought on this?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I totally agree with everything Shuchi said. And I didn't think I would leave 3M after 10, 11 years there. And I thought I would be there for 20 years because same thing. I was constantly, moving around, being challenged, new role, new business, new people, and it was fascinating. I loved it. Um, you know, you have to be opportunistic as well, though. So I think, first thing is you don't get what you don't ask for. And while I never would sit there and be like, I need a new job, because I think that's very, like, that'll turn off a lot of leaders. I would often talk about and, have conversations around, hey, am I doing and getting the validation? Am I doing my core role well? Am I exceeding? Am I excelling at what I'm expected to do within that core function? If yes, I'd really like to take on something else. I want to keep challenging myself. I want to keep learning. I want to build these skills. And that often just ended up translating into, you know what, we're going to move you into this new role because we think you're going to, develop more by doing that. Or I'd take on a project that was like adjacent to the next role that I was interested in. And so you never get bored when you're doing that, but you also won't get those opportunities if you're not having those conversations. And so, I think too often I see that people make a decision to do something outside of their organization, but they never had the conversation about could they do that within their organization. And so, and not every company is great about having those dialogues proactively. Some are wonderful. I was really lucky to have that in both Target and 3M. Some are not as effective at that. So know you can speak up for yourself. And that's what I did that I would say helped me really continue to just get a lot of like exciting opportunities. But yeah, there came a time when, and actually it's the same thing at Target. I was actually interviewing for my next promotion at Target when I left, which was, I mean, they were shocked. At 3M was too when I left. But I felt that the opportunity that had presented itself to me, when I left Target, I wasn't even looking for a job at all. Kind of same thing for 3M. But I always keep an open mind. And I think that's also really important. I never say no to an opportunity to like get to know someone or learn something about something else. And so I think that's allowed me to make decisions when I'm not desperate for a change either. I've made decisions because it was very intentional, it was very strategic. And not because I just was like, oh my gosh, I have to get out of here. Because I think that's when people make the wrong choices as well of what to go do.
Yeah. I think I know we are almost at time. I don't see any questions in Q&A, but I would love to just recap what you shared, right? Like I think that intention of wanting to change and becoming desperate rather than letting maybe the universe for that matter bringing in what needs to come in at the right time, but again keeping an open mind. You can't be really like, okay, something will magically land at my lap, but being very intentional about what you want to do. Thank you so much, Shuchi and Mollie, for your honesty, the wisdom, and the vision with which you talked. I think this was a incredibly enriching conversation and lovely way to kick off the Behind the Wheel series. And while AI might be evolving, but I think leaders like you remind us that the human lens remains at the center of the great customer experiences. It cannot be one or the other. It has to be that amalgamation of both. To folks who stayed with us till the end, thank you for being with us today. And if you are looking to building products or shaping customer journeys or just exploring what's next, we hope this session gave you some kind of insights. Keep building, keep questioning, and stay curious. We are ending on time. Thank you again.
Thank you, Aura. Thank you, Shuchi.
Thank you, Aura. Thank you,
Thank
Mollie.
you.
Lovely
Thank you so
chatting.
much.
Bye.
Bye.